Good morning, everybody. This is Chief O for on Let's Talk About It. Let's talk about it. The reason why we call this show Let's Talk About It is because there's so many things that are happening to the African American community, the community in general, and Maryland and everybody else that can tune in anywhere in the world. So many things that are happening that we need to talk about it. But a lot of people don't want to talk about it for some odd reason. So let's talk about it. But before we start talking about so many of the issues that are on the table and we'll be talking about this morning, I just want to like to ask God to please bless those people that aren't able to get up this morning, people that are sick, bless those people that are searching for wellness, give them the strength to be with you, and bless all the people that are in Africa, the whole continent of Africa, all 54 countries, and soon to be 56. Biafra in particular, Ablazine in particular, all of them, South Africa, Kenya, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Baltimore, New York, Chicago, wherever black people reside in this world, God, I ask you to give them the strength to continue to sustain and survive. And thank you so much. So, with that said, now let's talk about the issues. Mayor Brandon Scott of Baltimore sort of went to Washington, D.C. to get a refill from, of all people, Biden. Yeah, I know some of you like him, but I'm not one of those. So I'm not ashamed to say it. But he went to Washington, D.C. yesterday to get his refill on what to do with guns and gun control and to amend the Second Amendment because of the high crime rate in Baltimore City. Somehow or another, these black officials and black elected officials, and I don't know, it's not because they're black, but it seems that you have the full understanding on how to get this gun control controlled. Now, let's get a few things straight. Black people don't manufacture guns. Black people are not the ones selling it to black communities. Black people are the ones that are pulling the triggers, and not all of them are pulling the triggers. Some of them are being pulled by forces that are not under their control. Some say that, oh, guns kill. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Guns don't kill. Guns don't do anything. It's a mechanical device. It's a device. It doesn't kill. The person behind the gun does the killing. We got to get that straight. Now, one thing we all agree, we got to get under control the violence in Baltimore City, Chicago, Atlanta, Detroit, all urban cities. We've got to get control on that. But it's not going to be controlled by the lame duck politicians that are the ones perpetuating the problem that creates the use of gun violence. So let's be cognizant and continue to watch this as it progresses, because we do need to stop the shooting. Baltimoreans, those in Chicago, all urban cities in the country, we do need to stop it. I don't know why there's so many brothers out there pissed off or sisters pissed off. There's a lot of more sisters going to jail over gun use. I can't believe that. But I believe it. I believe it. Anybody pissed off would probably pick up a stick. But that's not the thing. The thing is to control this temper, control this agitation, control this anger. that creates this, that forces people to use mechanisms to harm another person. Get it straight. Get it straight, black people in particular, because, you know, my show, I like to talk to black people. You know, everybody want to talk to the rest of the world. I don't care who's listening. Everybody can listen. But I want to talk to black people. In Baltimore alone, over 300 people die, killed every year for the past 6 years. Now, if Brandon Scott went over to Washington, D.C. to talk to, of all people, Biden, I saw the picture of them in the White House, and Brandon Scott was sitting in the front seat on the left side of the president, who was on the podium, looking like a little schoolboy. You understand what I'm trying to say? I guess he's growing in some way. Some people really like him, and he's growing, but he look like there's something not fitting. You know, he's not a Martin Luther King. He's not a Malcolm X. He's not some of those stronger past leaders. Maybe he's growing into it. I mean, I've raised 7 boys and a girl. You know, they grow into things. But this mushroom is a little bit on the slow side growing. All the other things around the world, the economy is growing around them, infrastructure growing around them. But they look like one of them little flowers that just seem to get caught and is being strangulated by so many different issues. I don't know. I don't see it. Just don't see him doing that good so far. But it don't mean take him out of office. It just means that, you know, give him some butter bread or something. Put some butter and some jelly in his bread, you know, and give him a little oomph. So Brandon, keep on doing what you're doing. If Biden or Biden will give you some kind of secret service or secret information on how to contain and control guns in the street, okay. But I know one thing, in the state of Delaware, where Biden comes from, it seems like everybody there is carrying their gun. You could see it. I went there one time for, we went for a rally. And I'm seeing people strapped down openly. Maybe there's a point there. Because if you know that somebody's got something that can hurt you, you may not want to pull yours. Hello. So there might be something in what some people have been saying in Maryland. Open gun, and everybody carrying it. Scary. I don't know if it works. It's never been tried in this area. But we'll see. And let's see what happens with Brandon Scott's visit to, of all people, Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe Biden. He probably sat there and damn near put Brandon to sleep. Anyway, that's one area. The thing, today's Thursday, everybody know that, which is 6/24. Hello to Zulika, Clarence Davis, and my other sister, what's her name? I forgot. All the people that have been on the show before, and I'm looking forward. They all had something to do because the community is jumping and jumping. Oh my goodness, everywhere. So, hello to all of them. The other issue that is hitting the airwaves and hitting the community hard is the educational system, where critical race theory is actually there's some states that are trying to wipe out any story in the school system about slavery, Martin Luther King. I think they might even be trying to change the street name. It's, down. It's something that we need to continue. Now, the overall objective of today's show is about the reparation. That's continuing from last week. Who qualifies to get it? How is it going to be done? It's going to really take this thing up? We don't know. Did they take it up as fast as they took up Juneteenth, whatever that means. Never seen Democrats move so fast. Wanted to make a federal holiday of Juneteenth, but keeps the 40 acres and a mule. Ain't giving us that. But the Democrats really jumped right into it. Oh, yeah, Juneteenth, a federal holiday. That'll satisfy black people and allegedly for the freedom of slaves. Whew. Well, my people, you're free. You know how the story goes. There's a lot of black people during the time of the Juneteenth or the Freedom, the Emancipation Proclamation, where folks were sitting on their porch and on their farm, and the news came, hey, everybody, we're free. We're free from slavery. And some people sat there and said, free from what? Slavery? What that mean? Oh, didn't mean nothing. Except that it didn't mean that the white man didn't whip you up. They did, and they're still doing it. It didn't mean that they didn't take your job away from you, that is farming. They did, and they're still doing it. It didn't mean that they couldn't, that you can go to school now. They didn't want you to go to school anyhow, then, and now, even now. They shut it down for about a year and a half, the school. So what freedom are they talking about? Freedom of speech? Black folks can still talk. We talk where we want to talk, and we're talking our way. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. 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 You know how we do. We didn't really just always talk, but we're now coming out saying, let's talk about it. So we really need to, even though they made Juneteenth a federal holiday, we really do need to see what that really means to some of us. What freedom? What does it mean? Free from slaves, but we're still slaves. Good Lord. Don't think about it like that we're free. It ain't that free yet. No way you get that stuff from. You can't speak, still can't speak. You ain't got no right to do a whole lot of things. We still ain't got that right. That's how we look at it. You know, some of us, we all call ourselves African Americans, and many of us have never been to Africa. You need to go to Africa. I lived in Africa for 17 years, and I tell you, it's a beautiful place. Go to Ghana. Go to Nigeria. Go. Ooh, I didn't say that word. Ooh, boo, no. Hey, you know, whenever you mention Nigeria, that's an amalgamated nation. That's where slavery is still taking place. Freedom to kill is still taking place. But anyway, Biafra, and there is a nation that is trying to form. Because we're trying to form a nation. Could you believe that? So Juneteenth don't really mean anything if you ain't got a nation. What's here is not yours. Some people will disagree with me, but that's all right. And, you know, I vote Republican. I believe in us having the ability to do what is right for our community. But we'll discuss Juneteenth. So there's a lot of news, you know, that is going on in today, this whole week. By the way, click that. If there's something that is down on the bottom of this that says subscribe, please subscribe, because we're still trying to reach 100,000 people to listen. So please subscribe. As soon as my producer puts that down, if you see it, subscribe, because that's how we get whatever we're going to get. Ain't much, but whatever we get it. So subscribe and share, and leave a comment. If you got something that you want to say, please say it. Share it. Type it out. You all know how to do all that typing. Type on. Type on. Ask me the question. So, now there's a lot of things that I like to talk about today, but I'm going to go right on into the topic of today. Yes, sir. Reparation. 40 acres and a mule. I kind of like sometimes to make a joke about it and say 40 acres. Like, go to the share and comments and share. Let's talk about it. Reparation. Push your like, push your share it, and comment. Let's talk about it. With Chief O. Get that? Because there's a lot of people who want to talk about other things. But if you're talking to me, that's Chief O, that's me. We might be able to reach that 100,000 in no time. So please, like it, share it, and make a comment. Okay. Reparation. It's a subject on the table. But California is the state that has actually put a little bit more teeth into it than the H.R. 40 that Shirley Lee Jackson, Texas, have prepared, called the H.R. 40, which is a commission to study and develop reparation proposals for the African American Act. You got to check it out. The African American Act, H.R. 40. That means going back 32 years now, it's been dormant and been proposed and lost and all that again in Congress. And this 117th Congress is trying to bring it back through Congressman Lee Jackson of Texas under the bill called H.R. 40. Look it up, H.R. 40. So, what California have done, they have claimed that California's past engagement with slavery and how that fueled their mission of establishing the legislation, and then their assembly bill is 3121. Must be a picket number or something. 3121 Assembly Bill 3121 Californian legislation. But for California, the bill creates a task force to study and develop reparation proposal for African Americans. They've already now put a commission together. Now they're going to talk about how this commission is going to work. I got some guests, but my guests are on video. So please, whenever my producer is ready, he can go ahead and click any one of those people and let's hear what they have to say about reparation. I'm ready if you are. Cut it anytime.
Some black people who have had their monies in banks and their family members were murdered, they are entitled to get that money back. However,
wait a minute. That's an interesting thought. I had a very similar thought that maybe reparations should be given to people.
Start there. Pay those people their money.
They lost their lives, they lost their family members to violence.
Well, no,
crime?
No, I'm talking about the people in Tuskegee, in
Wall Street,
the Black Wall Street, in Texas, all the places in Arkansas, places where we started our own businesses and then were burned out and murdered. And the banks have still made money on that money because they didn't give it back to them. Even though they were burned out of their houses, they were not allowed to, they couldn't prove who they were. Right. So they kept the money. The banks still have the money.
And insurance did too.
Yes. So we can start there right? And then we can move on to the people, the 600 black men and their families who were given syphilis or allowed to die from syphilis. We could pay them and their family, not just a little stipend, but for real, for real. Once you do that, and then when you go back and you find the families that came here as slaves, pay them for their parents and their grandparents and their great-great-grandparents.
Is that possible? I mean,
Oh yeah, that's possible.
Given the technology that exists today, how do you retrace the people that are entitled?
Because I think it is documented. Like we are a culture of documentation, right? So my aunt went back and found where our family came in from West Ivory Coast, right? And so that we know who those slaves were. So that it's documented. They documented. They were cargo. They documented everything. So that's not the question.
So
those
should there
people,
be a limitation? Like, if they did find
yes,
your parents did.
I think it is the responsibility of each family member to say, okay, I'm going back. I'm going to find my peoples and find out if they came here as slaves against their will, and then those should be the people that get reparations. Or I don't even know if reparation would be what I would call it. I would call it, they get paid. Somebody's cotton farm or rice farm or indigo farm plantation got mega rich. Those are the people off of people who didn't get paid. Those are the people that need to be paid. That's just my opinion.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, but I don't think that you could just go around and just pay every black person for being black. That's too many. That's not going to happen. Million. That's not going to happen, right? But the people who can prove it, like Native Americans, prove that they are Native Americans to get their benefits. Prove that your family came from slavery, and then get the benefits. Get paid.
Japanese are still getting paid.
The Japanese are still getting paid.
Jews are
still getting paid. So, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Victims are still getting paid.
I don't think it's going to happen for black folks because we are not going to band together. We are crabs in a barrel kind of thing, and we step on each other instead of lift each other up. So when we start to do that, it'll happen.
Well, you heard the lady. She's an anonymous person. Then I just simply asked what she thought about reparation. Her points were well taken. The critical points that she was making, who gets paid? And she did say that we are a people of documentation, that people are, we have evidences and documents to prove who should get, as my grandson calls it, repaired for the damages that has been done to the African-American population. So it seems to me that she would definitely stand up on who gets paid, who should get paid. And she named a few people who were illegally and forcefully injected with syphilis, that their family should get paid. People who actually worked in a farm, their family should get paid. In the 1800s, those people whose civil rights were abridged, taken away, they should get paid. In order for reparation to be meaningful, now that California is putting a commission together, and hopefully there'll be other states to follow up on that, including Maryland, of all places. People that should get reparation, and the process to get people the reparation money or a mule. It's 40 acres and a mule. That's how it really started. A promise was made after the so-called Civil War was over, which is not over. It just meant its turn. It's coming from a different direction. Now, if as she also said, educational system. But that's a questionable one on some other people who had a view, because if you put the money in the African American school to educate the young peoples of today, it may work, it may not work. But one of the things that she mentioned is that Black people seem not to be able to band together. All other ethnic people that are getting reparations banded together. And that's how come they are getting their funds to them. The 9/11 people, the Holocaust issues, the Japanese forced imprisonment, and putting in concentration camps. They're still getting reparation funds. And we'll be talking to them too very soon. Don't forget, send any kind of information that you would like to. Just go ahead and type it in. I'll catch it. I got my good glasses on today. So, but there's another interesting revelation. A lot of people simply don't know that California, as the Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State, have said, has a really widely, the slavery issue is not widely known. California didn't get into a statehood until 1850, and the end of slavery in 1865, 15 years later. Now, that term, the end of slavery, you may have to question that, because Kamala Harris, the vice president of today, came out of that state, and there are more Black people in jail over there than there. Oh my goodness! I think if we put it categorically, that California's got a lot of Black people in jail, so it's not a free state. And sometimes they call it a free state, but that's a name only. Some communities in California actively are supporting Black enslavement in many different ways. But they got a commission put together, and they're talking about it. I don't know, people in bondage are just kind of sitting and waiting, and hopefully, like a place like Maryland, we can be part of a commission. I like to be a part of it. But don't forget now, California also in 1852 adopted a Fugitive Slave Act, empowering states and local law enforcement authority for self-emancipation. That is, force self-emancipation person living within the state back into the chains of enslavement. The Fugitive Slave Act didn't help the so-called free slaves, because they now gave the authorities, the police, slave hunters, power to capture a person, whether slave or not, and put them back into enslavement. So they returned those people back to the slave owners. This was after the Emancipation Proclamation and free slave and so forth on. So a lot of us are just simply not buying that. So, but California is moving forward, and I think that's something that we can just say, okay, you're doing something. But there's some compelling arguments that reparation for the African American slave nation here, the descendants of slaves, there's some compelling arguments, and my next guest has some new information that a lot of us just probably, don't know about it. A lot of the younger generation don't know anything about it, but the older generation were there in the 1960s. And something that may just shock some of you: when America goes to war, as soon as my producer is ready, he can put that clip on. Thank you so much for listening. and let's talk about it. This is Chief O. Former veteran. Go ahead, sir, about the reparation.
I recognize how wrong we American and our policies have been towards the African Americans.
Yeah.
We depress the African Americans. Can't deny that.
Right.
In reference to compensation, I think going forward, we should have vocational schools, low fees to enter college.
Okay.
Be as equal as everyone else.
That's what you think should happen?
That's what I think should happen.
How should the money be distributed?
By entering the college, by entering the vocational school, your application.
And it's free.
And it's free.
Awesome.
It all takes documentation saying I'm in the vocational school. I'm taking up electrician, which is 4 years to get your degree in electrical.
Right.
As a master electrician.
Right.
And yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. Good job. Get that one right. He is saying that one way that reparation can work is students that are going to school, let's assume that Maryland opens up a commission. And in that commission, part of the proposal for reparation would be that whenever it is that the funding is put together, students that are going to the African American predominantly schools or black colleges should go for free. This thought has also bounced off from some other people that believe that black people should be exempt from paying taxes for some time. Indians don't pay taxes. There are other people that are exempt from paying taxes. And it's because of the wrongs that were done to them. It was based on that. So what this guy is said is very clear. Students should not have to pay taxes. And people that are working that are African Americans, that of course, once all the documentation is proven, that they should not have to pay taxes. For the students who are going to school for 4 to 6 years, going to colleges for 4 to 6 years, free tuition. Will that work? That's a proposal that will be on the commissioner's table. The table that will be a step that hopefully Maryland can push forward and establish by the legislature. Let's see how that goes. But now there's another information that another guest, or I think it's the same guest, has about reparation. Go ahead, Mr. Producer. Now, you were saying something about Vietnam veterans being drafted.
Yes, the 100,000 project. If you would Google 100,000 project Vietnam, that was by LBJ and Secretary of Defense McNamara. They drafted African Americans out of their homes, whether they could spell, read, or not. They got drafted out of their homes, drafted, went through a test. If they failed the test, they had to come back in 30 or 60 days to retake the test. If they failed it, they still got drafted. Then they took the felons out of the prisons and drafted them in the Marine Corps and the Army. If any African American in today's world should be compensated, it should be those who were drafted in the 100,000 project.
Reparation.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
People need to look up the 100,000 project.
100,000 project.
And those Vietnam veterans who are alive today from that project should be compensated. 100%.
Whoa. Well, you heard that, folks.
Now you got to be fired up, because that's.
Oh boy, oh boy. 100,000 project. I'm a Vietnam veteran. 1968, 1970. Yeah, I was one of those 100,000 drafted, so-called drafted. My guest that spoke about the 100,000 project. You can Google it and read something to open your eyes about how black men were so-called drafted or kidnapped, and black men in jails taken out of the jail and put into the military to go to Vietnam. September 1968, some 46,000 black men kidnapped from the street, grabbed anywhere, no matter what they were doing, and put into the military, tested. If they passed the test, they're in. If they failed the test, they're in. I was one of those men. 1968. This particular guest of mine, an anonymous person who just wanted to talk about reparation, said that those 100,000 black men that were drafted by Johnson administration, McNamara Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, that those 100,000 black men should get reparation. Period. Period. No ifs and buts about it. 100%. Just imagine there's a war going on, and America decides that drafting is the only way that they can get men into the war. You know, Johnson and Johnson at the time, and Secretary of Defense McNamara. They decided that the only way that they can get people out of poverty was to draft them into the military. If they survive the war, like some of us somewhat have done, when they come back, they get benefits, like many people somehow are getting, and many people are not even aware that they're getting, that they're even entitled to benefits. A lot of black people in this state, in this country, are simply not taking benefits or taking care of or getting access to their benefits. But that is something that everybody should know about. Already we have had a year, maybe a year and a half of uneducated population. If there's a war, the draft is already on the talk, because I don't know if America is going back into another big war. And if they're going to be going to another big war, drafting or an act to reduce the population, to put people into the black men into war, will certainly come up again. So that guest is saying, check out, look it up, 100,000 project. They just limited to that. So, you know, you don't get the details and make it look like it's all race related, but it is. 100,000 project. Look it up. But now there's another guest, younger generation, and he and they have a different view and are simply not believing and trusting of the establishment that is on actually giving us, that is black people, reparation. Let's talk about it. That's what we're doing. Let's continue to talk about it, because it is something that we continue to have a problem with. Go ahead, Mr. Producer. Wonderful, wonderful.
You know what
work.
reparation is?
Reparations? I don't, to be honest, I don't know the full definition of reparations.
Reparation is paying back black people for.
Right.
Oh yeah,
See, I know
that part.
that
That
yeah.
part, yes, I understand.
Do you think black people should get money?
Of course, absolutely.
How?
How
should
should
they get
how
money?
should we be paid? Is the question?
Yeah.
I think that they should give us back what's rightfully ours. Whether that
far
be
as
land,
land,
yeah.
yeah.
As far as land, I feel like property and land has more valuable than the other little assets that I guess they would try to give us to pacify us and make us feel like, you know how they do us.
Well, what if white people say, look, I ain't did it. I mean, that's my great-great-great-grandfather
Yeah,
did
but you
all
still
that
held
slavery
accountable
stuff.
for it. You still held accountable for it because if you had any type of humility and you would take responsibilities for the actions of the people that came before you. Because for you turning your other cheek, that makes you feel like it's giving us the impression that it's okay with you, right?
So they're still earning benefits from
Yeah,
it
of course they're benefiting from it
right now.
because we still suffering from it. So how are they not benefiting from it?
So you were fully in support of reparation for black people.
Yeah, I just don't. You know, I'm not getting. It's been how long now?
400 years.
Yeah, so.
Only
I
4
mean, at this
million
point,
black people here.
I'm not waiting for no white folk to give me a check. I'd rather go get it on my own. At this point,
How would you get it?
there's plenty of ways to get it, especially in this day and age. It's like,
It's a lot of hustles.
yeah,
Today.
it's like there's too many
Yeah.
ways.
Look at the Jews are getting money for
Right.
the Holocaust.
Once they are,
Japanese are getting their money.
yeah,
And those people that died in 9/11, they're getting the money.
of course.
So why shouldn't we?
You know why?
I'm about to say.
We can
You know
break it
what's
down.
up,
We can talk
Pops.
about this all day. You know
Of
why?
course, they're not going to give us the money that we deserve.
So the bottom line is that we should get the money.
Of course,
Yeah,
we should get the
absolutely.
money.
If there's any mechanism, any way to get it to us, we should get it.
And excuse me for not even defining reparations, because I feel like every black person knows what reparations is. But the question is, do you believe in it? I don't believe in it, and I'm not passing over my sovereignty to nobody and waiting on them to give me what's rightfully mine. I'd rather go take it, and that's what we do. We black men, right?
You're right now.
We build it. We build what we want. Take what we want. We do what we want, and that's why we don't have reparations now, because they know that they intimidated by that.
Oh,
Right.
I hear you.
This scares me,
Oh,
and I love it.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
There you go again, the younger generation, who is really not having. Look, we're entrusting this reparation business. This ain't working for us. People know about it, and if they don't, they should not. They should know. But he also believes that land is the greatest asset or greatest thing to have. Now, after the slavery, some people, other ethnic groups, have access to land. We got freed from slavery, but we have no land. They want to give us 40 acres. Some people, by my research, did get some land, but they took it away from them. So you got land, it was taken away. More land was actually given to the slave holder for not having slaves. So, really, let's take a good close look at that. The slave received no 40 acres, no land. The slave holder received more mules and more land. So after the freedom that we allegedly have, we still don't have a land. That's what takes me back to the Juneteenth, because if you're free, you should have your land. If African Americans got the lands that the Indians got, well, give us the whole South. But by the time we get the whole South, the people under the South Americans will come from underneath. And so we'll be right there again. Still, independent people without a land, without a flag. So reparation in this young man's eyes is something that he does not believe will happen. These young men from Philadelphia, from Pennsylvania, don't trust the system. Don't trust the promise makers. Don't believe that the promise makers will do anything to actually, as my grandson would say, repair something that was done wrong. So, It just seems that reparation. I don't know if I have another clip, but if I have another clip, is there a possibility that we can go ahead and play that other clip? I think there was one
But as long
more.
as it don't affect them, they don't care.
They don't care.
Exactly.
So reparation, many people don't care unless it affects them.
Well, growing up when I was a little boy, if you got in trouble, you go to court, judge gave you options. You either go in the military or you go to jail.
Uh-oh.
Now,
What year was that?
when I was a teenager, back in the 70s, right?
So do you remember that Johnson McNamara bill for 100,000 black men?
I gotta say no, I don't.
It was 100,000 men project.
Okay, I remember the Million Man March.
Oh, that's a different thing.
Yeah,
So
no.
if the reparation did come about,
Uh-huh.
how would you like your money? If it's money that you want,
Just give me what I'm deserved to have.
what would that be?
I can't put a figure on it. You know, what's fair is fair. You know, the rich get rich and the poor get poor.
So you do agree that reparations should be going forward?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. You know, I just retired in 2019, right?
Congratulations.
41 years on the job as a truck driver. And they always told me, even though you're retired, you got your pension, your Social Security coming, bills gonna steady keep going up. All right, they give us a little raise for Medicare, but they take it right back and take it back out you.
You're retired, but you ain't tired.
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah.
God bless you,
You
bro.
too. And thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
Yeah.
Well, retired, but ain't tired. We're retired, but we're not tired. You know, the perception of the choice that was given to black people in that 100,000 project, the choice was simple. The court will give you an option to go into the military or stay in jail. So most black people who were being jailed, like, recycled into jail, in and out, naturally some chose a higher risk of going to war. A war with some people 10,000 miles away. A war with people they never knew. So this particular guest of mine believes seriously that yes, reparation is essential to get. But if you noticed in his assessments, it's not going to happen. He doesn't believe it's going to happen. So, as Congresswoman Sheila Lee Jackson in Texas proposes 40 acres in the HR 40. Imagine HR 40 and 40 acres in a mule. There's a correlation between the two. As her proposal is bouncing around the country, and California has already picked it up and running with it by establishing a commission. Maryland, there's one congressman in Maryland, the white congressman in Maryland, supports the HR 40. But when you take a look on the list, the black congressman in Maryland, Congressman Kwesi Nkrumah's name is not on the list as supporting the reparation issue. Don't ask me why. He may have whatever reason he has not to support it or not to have his name listed. And he should have made sure, if it was an oversight, that his name is a supporter. I mean, we're talking the former president of NAACP. I was president of NAACP in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So he was on the national level, and for him now, and he's a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. So we haven't seen the names of all the members of Congressional Black Caucus on the list of people who supports the reparations. So this particular guest supports the idea, but lets everybody know that the choices that was given to Black people on that 100,000 project. That's what they call it. They don't say 100,000 men project or 100,000 women and men project. They just 100,000 project. That particular project was going nowhere. So it seems like that supporter supports the project, supports reparation, but doesn't believe that it's going to happen. So if we keep on talking about it, that's exactly what we need to do, is to keep on talking about it. It's a possibility that Maryland may just go ahead and establish a commission. You know, maybe Brandon Scott should put that on the table. You know, there's certain people that can do some things. You know, I'm just giving Brandon Scott a little idea. Brandon Scott established a commission to study reparation. You're busy trying to repair Baltimore. Here's an idea. Repair Baltimore by establishing a commission. Even if the state of Maryland don't do it, the city of Maryland can do it. You're going to just put a whole bunch of folks together and give them the whole 100,000 project act and see if they can go ahead and come up with some ideas that maybe will be picked up by the state. Sometimes you got to start a little from a lower plane. Then it shouldn't be that way. But, you know, that's just because Maryland is run by Democrats, and so is Brandon Scott is a Democrat. You know, these guys don't think that far ahead. But so is Sheila Lee, you know, the Texas congresswoman. She's a Democrat. You know, and you see what happened with Juneteenth. I have never seen legislation put before Congress, the House, and pass so quickly. Woo! We freed the slaves and we're going to take the credit for it. Yeah, right. So that's the way that goes. Well, there's a lot of stuff to be talked about. And we're just going to go ahead and the Voting Rights Act is again another issue that is on the table of the Democratic Party. And of course, the big one, the big one, the big one, critical race theory. Oh boy. Critical race theory. That's another thing. I'm going to give people assignments. You know, you need to go look into this. The 100,000 project. It happened in 1966. Look it up. Look it up. Study it. Say something about it, because we're going to be talking about it again next Thursday. The critical race theory. Look it up. Look it up, study it, especially all those students that are in Black colleges. You know, do something. You know, you guys are in there. Do something. Donald Trump gave us a lot of money for that. And then all of a sudden, here comes the state of Maryland. You know, everybody want to jump on that and say, oh, we gave it. No, Donald Trump did. Obama did not. Donald Trump did. Biden, sort of. The state of Maryland, they gave some money because there was a celebration. And there's another one, COVID-19. We need to talk about COVID-19. How realistic was it? How damaging it is. How damaging COVID-19 was to the American Maryland Black people, because they kept targeting us. We're the ones that are going to die so quickly because we live in a poverty area. We don't have the right food. We don't have the right medical facilities. We don't have anything. The health facilities that we have is there to experiment on us, not make us stay healthy. So we're the ones that, you know, we're targeted. We seem to be always a target. Sometimes you remember the old song, get that old monkey off my, you gotta get that we gotta get that monkey off. So that's another thing that we need to talk about. And I think my time is about 2 minutes left. and my producer will go ahead and listen. We're going to talk about the voting rights suppression. Who's right, the Republicans or the Democrats? Who's suppressing who? What mechanism is in place that inevitably will suppress somebody? And we are just again another targeted group that are always being talked about by anybody in the House or the Senate. They keep talking about it. But remember the old saying that if we not talk about it, it will continue to happen to us. God bless all of you. This is Chief O. Let's talk about it. Until next Thursday morning, we'll see you then. It will.